Oh, hello, whoever is watching the video. I want to take the attention towards what's happening in the human society these days. We are far away from the deep thinking we used to have few years ago. Some people might have felt this also. I wanna take a point on the Socratic method, how humans you first started science, thinking about science. If we really think about something long enough, we cross the line of understanding. As I heard from some mathematicians say that what actually is a human mind. Some people say curiosity is important, but where is curiosity? What actually is curiosity? Curiosity doesn't come by forcing. You can ask first questions. Curiosity doesn't require any other source or someone else to tell. Any thoughts you have is a curious mind. You have someone to talk about, that's a curiosity part of you. You like talking about things, you are curious about them. You like about knowing things, you are curious about them. Any topic you can be curious about. Now, why are we curious actually? Throwback to evolution. When we think about the evolution, we can see that first of all, any species is which is adaptable and explorable. It can explore and adapt. That species survives automatically. And I can say specifically adapt. Exploration comes as a consequence, you can say. Humans were the species which adapted years, thousands of millions of years ago. Then we evolved about thinking about things, managing things. Then we suppose you have you are part of a tribe, throwback to Stone Age or something, and you saw some footsteps of a dangerous animal, suppose a bear. Would you warn your tribe? Yes, of course, if you want them to survive. But sometimes you may think, why actually a bear would be here? That's not some obvious question. Because you saw the footsteps. Maybe the bear footsteps were pretty pretty long ago. Or maybe the bear is here. But now you know a bear was here or can be around here. You can use that information to deduce that you should not be here. You can save the tribe by that. Humans first saw stars as points somewhere in the sky. They tried, how should we explain these things? What actually is rain? What actually is a thunderstorm? What actually is uh, many different kind of things? Where actually is the sun? And when a human mind cannot answer these things, there are a lot of biases which come to place. This is a fallacy, famous. the god of the gaps policy. If you don't know what actually is happening around you, you are gonna substitute it to something else and say, I don't know. Someone is there who is doing these things, and I don't know that someone. Somehow he is helping me survive, which I don't know is a mere coincidence, or maybe someone is not helping me out, but I don't care. If you really think about this long enough, if you are an atheist, agnostic atheist, then it's easy for you to deal with these things. If you are a theist, think about this perspective a little differently. Why do we ask questions, or why we must ask big questions? There is no must. If you really think, if you are a child, you are born with curiosity. A human mind is always built to explore things. When you were a child, you were always exploring things like, what is this, what is that, why is this happening. You used to put things in your mouth. You don't know what will happen, but you are just trying. You don't know if it's good for your health. You don't know what is health. You don't know, but you want to know. Curiosity is something which doesn't depend on your environment at first. Humans have that as in your DNA, in your genes. You are interested in questioning, you can question, but we will discuss how society answers these questions actually. Now I should go to the Socratic method. The great philosopher Socrates told that we should have clarity in whatever we read, whatever we pursue in the world. We should have clarity of what we know. You don't know, then don't accept it. If you know a little, know it more. Explore it more. Now, many of the people here, so many people can say so many things, that they know this and that. It's not about that someone is saying that they are nice, then they are not nice. If someone is saying they are good, they are not good. Don't judge people like that. It's not a no, but you can check it for yourself. That fails every time. Being judgmental on the first behalf is not a good option in long term. Now, if a child is there, and this is a line from Carl Sagan I heard somewhere, that if a child asks why the moon is round or why the grass is green, then some adult would say, or what do you expect it, the moon to be cube or grass to be blue? They can't even answer the question, and they are trying to humiliate the child for asking the question. Caring about questions is only when you can survive. If you are short of food, if you are in a famine, you don't have food, you don't have water, the first thing your brain will pursue is, I should somehow get some food. I should not be hungry. It will not try to consider that I should think about this, I should think about that. First is survival. Second is efficiency. The brain is looking for efficiency. If you engage brain in some silly things, it will easily just get distracted because brain doesn't want to think deeply. Thinking deeply requires a whole lot of calories and energy, and the thinking has quite dropped since the 6th to 7th years. Also, the attention span, if you are aware of some research data, normally if you question around here, or some, normally you can observe this in the people around you, that if you ask them a deep question on what actually is this, they would say, you are going deep, I can't this and that. They will just look at it, their phone, or their mind is totally not thinking about that, not totally working, because their attention span is literally not that quite enough to focus on a single thing. The attention span has decreased after the COVID situation drastically. You can look up in the internet about that. I'm not going to talk about that here. But that has led to a huge effect in how people think and society thinking about things. As a mathematics enthusiast, I can see that many of the people, they just learn the formulas. I'm talking about the normal people here for now. They just learn the formulas, and that's the over thing. You already know that people memorize formulas, and I am not gonna bluff about that again. So, but if suppose it's a physics thing, right? Suppose we consider the subject physics. Teachers also don't try to give attention on what physics actually means philosophically, thinking about things deeply. These subjects can literally change how you think about the world. Suppose, let's consider about gravity. Simple example, everyone knows about gravity these days. So, if you really think about it, gravity, when it's taught by the formula derivation goes like, the force is proportional to the first mass, the force is proportional to the second mass, the force is inversely proportional to the distance squared between them, and now we can introduce a constant, the gravitational constant g, and then we have a formula g m1 m2 y r square. But no one really thinks what actually is mass. Mass is defined as quantity of matter. What actually is matter? Can we always see a matter? Can we always touch a matter? What actually is matter? What actually is temperature? We don't know what actually is mass. We don't know what actually is energy. We don't, most of the people don't even have a feeling what energy is. Like, most of the physicists get through it by a feeling that energy is something which exists within an object, within a system. And most of the people who study physics don't even have that feeling that what actually is energy, what is the feeling of that, what is it trying to convey, why actually we are calculating something called energy in the first place. There is the why. Everyone answers what, not the why. What to study, what to pursue, what to do next, what to do, why. Not why should we do this, why scientists thought of this, why we have reached here, thinking like that. I may say that force is in, why force is not proportional to, say, mass squared. When do we know we multiply constant g? It's like the students are treating it like a trick. That's a cognitive bias actually. If you get repeated by some info, if you get repeated information about something, you will think that the tribe is telling the truth. You would think that that's the truth, because if you are repeated with something, you may think that suppose take the example of two equations. We have the LHS, we have the RHS. Suppose 3x equals to 45. Now most of people without telling will try to calculate what is x here, which are actually interested in doing those things. Someone might not even find that interesting. I even don't find that interesting. But most of the people will just say that 3x equals to 45, so x equals to 45 by 3. Why is x equals to 45 by 3? Most of the people don't know that we can divide both sides by 3, then we get that. Most of the people don't know why we can't divide by 0. They don't have the clarity, but just they know that it's undefined. Many people don't know why while doing limits cancelling 0 approaching terms works out. Many people don't know why actually how actually gravity exists, or maybe why actually uh, Earth spins. Why is force and gravity not inversely proportional to r cube? Why not r to the power 4? Why not r to the power 5? Why r square? What's the history? Why someone thought about this? How they thought about this? Then you can only create new things if you really think about it. The idea of questioning things. First, most of the students these days just wait for teacher to leave the class. They're not interested in the topic. First, they are really waiting that most of the students which are also even caring about, they are caring about scoring the marks. They are waiting, they are just looking at the teacher, whatever the teacher is saying, they are not comparing it to what they have read before. If they have read something before and that turns out to be wrong, or hypothesis in science, I can say, there is a very low chance that someone will argue. They will just say in their mind, okay, I may be wrong, the teacher can't be wrong. Now that's the authority bias. This is called the authority bias, because you think the teacher is our authority, so teacher knows everything in the subject. But why would he know everything? Suppose there's a problem and a teacher can solve that problem or question. Why can't you solve that problem or question? If he uses the same thing to solve the question, why can't you solve that? Why do you need his assistance for solving that? Try your best. Fail. That's how actually human mind works. That's how you grow. But who cares about growing these days? Now most of the people unknowingly go through nihilism these days. If you don't know about nihilism, you can search through the Wikipedia, or many videos are out there. The worst society has done is making it difficult for curious people to get their answers. If they ask some question, They Most of the society just tries to humiliate them or see them as nerds. Do you really think that s- science just is there to get jobs? You know, most of the people see it as a step ladder to get their jobs. Now, job is a secondary thing. If one requires it, I'm not going to argue on that. If you are looking for money, then there's no problem in it. But if you're a science student or you're studying science or mathematics, they are made from questioning the environment, questioning the normal things, and we reach the conclusion by making hypotheses, then verifying them, so we get to a theory, testing them. It works like this: someone said something, that's a hypothesis from their expectation of the reality. Then another person says, okay, I don't know about you, you give me the method, I will check it for myself and verify it for myself. If it works for most of the cases, then most of the cases, I'm talking about physics or chemistry here. If it works for most of the cases, then that would be called a theory. It's not that I would have to believe that you told something, then I have to believe. That goes with religion, not in science. That's the factor that makes science difficult for people to understand, actually, because people try to people are designed from the childhood that you should do this, you should do that. Whenever they question, they are not answered. They have authority bias, they have their parents saying that. Most of them are not like that, but here in Asia, if they will just say, I'm your parent, how can you say that, something like that, and you will stop questioning them. They will just want your marks. Now, it's if you ask, when the education system was not there, someone from that time, if you ask them that you got a score of 95 out of 100, who cares? You got an A plus, who cares? Can you make them understand what actually it means? Can you make them see what you can see from the things you have learned? Then only you can understand science. It doesn't work by just answering the questions. It's about answering your inner thoughts, your new questions. Make your new questions. There is no clarity. Like, if someone says that this thing works, and you have a feeling that I just get a little. Most of the people won't question. Even if someone questions, there are so many teachers, they will humiliate it. The teachers don't even know themselves that what actually it means. The class will go laughing at their questions. They maybe get humiliated and they will never ask questions again. That's how we are getting stupidity over intelligence in our society these days. Now, I want to talk about metacognition. If you have metacognition and awareness, you may face difficulty in the society, but you will feel a different type of clarity in your reality. Now, see what actually is metacognition. It's simple: thinking about your own thinking. Most of the people don't even reach to metacognition these days. The whole issue is phone, of course. Now I don't want to sound like a grandpa or something, trying to say you are all day watching that damn phone. The thing is, if you are aware that you are thinking differently, then you can avoid many biases. Like if you are thinking about something, you can suddenly realize, oh, I'm thinking about this because I have read this somewhere, I have heard this from somewhere. But was he telling the truth? Was the source correct? How do I know? I should research about that. Then only it will come. Otherwise, you will accept it blindly. Now, some people will say we should accept some things blindly. What are some things here? Like there are ghosts. How do you know? Have you ever experienced one? Some people will say something, other will say something, others will say something. So, do they have proper evidence? Have you ever found a ghost yourself? If you have got the feeling, then science can easily explain that. There is no proof in your claim. Now, if this is a famous question that you will normally get while getting into atheism, that if you have a book with 10 claims and 9 of which are correct, would you assume that the 10th one is also correct? Now, for theists, most of them say yes, and I can have biases in what I'm saying. You have your brain, you can also think and research about that. Why depend on me? Don't depend on anyone. Do research on your own, do exploration. Think of the world like an alien. Explore things, create things. You know, what was the last time when you created an paper airplane? You can't remember that actually. When was the last time you used scissors to cut a cardboard? When was the last time you just walked without or did and learned something without actually having an aim? Did you ever open the fridge and turn the lights off and on again and again? No, that's not happening again. Because we don't have enough focus and creativity now to deal with that. If you are metacognitive or socially